Right, one, before we start this off, I make no apologies for the sound of my voice. I am ill. It happens to people sometimes. Secondly, when we said the idea, when we came up with the idea that YouTube videos were no longer an interest for me, I did state that there would be a few exceptions, and this is one of them. So with that, we'll jump straight into this topic of discussion, which is the Tram Experience, which has been broadcasted over Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and various other forms of social networking over the last 48 to 72 hours. If you're watching this, I'm going to automatically assume that you are familiar with the events of the Tram video, in which there is a woman being explicitly racist to members of the public. Curiously enough, she is the only white adult on the tram, I believe. I'm hesitant to use the terms black and white and Asian because I don't actually believe in the context of race. I believe race is a social ideology that was constructed over the last 400 years. I don't for a second believe it was ever natural for mankind to discriminate because of colour. I believe it was perfectly natural for mankind to discriminate because of conflicting cultures. I see no reason, nor no empirical evidence as to why that happened because of their skin colour, except for when it developed in the slave triangle period. If you want me to discuss social construction of race, I will do so, but I'm not doing it in this video. So, kicking off, she says a lot of abusive things, and I'm not proud of it at all. And just to demonstrate my allegiance to things, although I don't have to demonstrate my allegiance to anything, frankly. Voila, it's a good shirt, isn't it? I'm absolutely disgusted by this, but I have to ask an ethical ramification which is going to inevitably come up, which is, where does this leave free speech? The woman should never have been arrested. I feel repulsed, disgusted, alienated. I find the idea of calling myself British repugnant after having to listen to that babble, that racist, disgusting babble. But this is a liberal democratic society. Again, if you want me to point out the flaws and pros and cons of that liberal democratic society, because it isn't really, but it is supposed to be, I'll pick that point up if anyone wants me to in another video. But it isn't really supposed to be supposed to be a society of where we as people integrate and we all exist quite harmoniously. The idea of multiculturalism, in my stark opinion to Cameron's, is that it has not failed. It never did fail. It was never an experiment that one day decided to happen. It happened. And if we have more people going around spreading the hate of Enoch Powell, then the worse it is for that multiculturalism. However, I cannot condone the fact that she was arrested because of what she said. She had it was perfectly within her right to say that, because with free speech comes tolerance and acceptance. And I would just like to point to the rest of the world that the majority of Britons do not behave like that. Certainly not like that twat Marmite man, or whatever he's called. Certainly not like Nick Griffin. Certainly not like Enoch Powell. I like to believe that we're a generation of acceptance, of love, of definitely anger and disgust towards social structures such as the government, which many of my fellow academics and teachers are, well, I shouldn't use the word fellow teachers, I'm not a teacher. Many of my teachers and fellow academics are taking part in now. They're striking today, it's November 30th. I will be joining them later, hopefully, if I get enough work done. My biggest gripe, though, because I've waffled a bit there, is that it is a direct assault on freedom of speech to arrest this woman. Therefore, she should never have been arrested. Disgusted? Yes. Outraged? Disgraced? Believe that she was absolutely wrong as hell and this should never have happened? Completely. Agree that she should have been arrested for what she said? Not for a second. Not for a second. Because we happen to have a very strong value in this culture called free speech. Hopefully, I believe the world will one day reach maturity where we don't fall back to this insignificant, mindless, racist drool which a lot of far-right extremists and people such as this will come out with. The problem here is that you don't educate people, tolerance isn't encouraged, and you have remnants of the bloody Enoch Powell era and these crazy racist football fans. They're just as bad as Islamic extremists. But no matter how bad they are in this particular society, we have free speech and we have tolerance of that free speech. We accept people for who they are. That's why in Brighton right now, where I live, we're probably next to Manchester, the most friendly gay place in the world because of our tolerance and acceptance and our liberal attitudes. And unfortunately, I'm very frightened that this will be used as one magnificent strike of support for the BNP. And I'm not defending this woman for a second. I'm defending her right of free speech. I'm not defending what came out of her mouth. They are two separate contexts. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to talk about. If anyone wants me to elaborate, ask me. Otherwise, I'm leaving it at that. Have a nice day.